So in 1999, I sold my company, indiadomain.com, for about $1 million US, which was for that time considered a unicorn in today's age. I was on the cover of Economic Times. I made headlines in that. My face was inside India Today magazine. How many of you have seen Sacred Games? You know Nawazuddin Siddiqui playing Ganesh Gayatunde, right? Ganesh Gayatunde says, "Apun ko lagta tha apun hi Bhagwan hai." That's exactly what I felt then. I thought I was on the top of my game. I thought I was top of the world. And you know, success gives you that illusion of control. So I thought I was in control. You know what happens to Ganesh Gayatunde after that? Some of you remember. Yeah, cut to 5 years later, I was on a hospital bed. I was on antidepressant for about 3 years of my life. I was bankrupt. I'd lost all my relationships. I had no identity. I'd built my identity on my success of my ventures, etc. So I had no identity at that time, and whatever I thought I had arrived had gone. So this was the dot-com era. And it's very similar today to today's AI era, right? Dot-com era and today's AI age have too many similarities. Alvin Toffler, one of the futurists of that time, called it as future shock. He had a word for it. He said future shock, which means that humans can't adapt fast enough, right? We can't adapt to the pace of technology. And after that, after the dot-com has crashed, it took us about 10 years, from 2005 to 2015, for the internet to become a part of our lives and for it to be accepted. Why? Because human takes a long time to adapt, right? And the dot-com era was an era which brought the internet to us. All of you saw statistics on how fast the first 50 million users came, right? In the dot-com era, it took us years, 10, 15 years. Today, it's compressed into weeks. So what we learned, we could learn at our pace. But what you will learn, very short compressed timeline. So what happened to my life? We went on what is called the peak of inflated expectations, which means when technology comes, everybody assumes this is going to change the world. This is going to change everything as we know it. And everybody gets on the boat, then what happens? Expectations come down. You get disillusionment, like I got. I was not a single casualty of the dot-com era. There were many like me that suffered, many that lost their mental balance, their physical balance, and it took us years to come out of that. Why? Because we were adapting too fast. Human biology is not made for that. So AI age is the same dot-com era, but at 10x speed, or maybe 100x speed. Exponential infinity is how we are raising, right? So the AI age is putting us in a spot where unless your adaptation is also fast, we will not succeed, right? Today our systems decide our self-worth. We don't decide what's our worth, right? Outside metrics decide what's our worth. Platform decides how we will look, what is the metric of success, how should we compare ourselves, what should we learn, what should we not learn, right? This is where we are. There's a crisis of meaning. My parents' generation, they used to believe their skill, their work defined them. We believed our designation defined us. I wanted to be a founder, I wanted to be a CEO, I wanted to be seen by the world as a successful person, right? So this outside metrics, as long as you let the world decide those metrics for you, you will always be downloading your self-worth. You will not be able to take your self-worth from yourself. Self-worth is something that comes from within. Era has called what I call as momentum anxiety. This is the anxiety that comes from momentum, which is the speed at which technology increases. Shall I make you anxious right now? Separate yourself from your phone. Take your phone away for a few minutes and you'll realize what that anxiety is. The anxiety of not being in touch, I'm late, I'm broken. We are never enough. For this age, this feels like he was talking about FOMO. FOMO, everywhere there's decision fatigue. In fact, the decision fatigue is so high that the top technology superheroes of this generation, they all wear a uniform. You know why? Because they don't want to decide and take a decision on what to wear for the day. So every day wear the same thing. So the first big wave that it comes generally excites us a lot, right? Then our excitement dampens, right? The collapse isn't of technology. The collapse is generally of our nervous system. Because the first thing that collapses is how humans adapt to it. It takes time for us to adapt. And this adaptation generally comes in waves and patterns that become smaller and smaller. The first phase is generally chaos, right? And then tech becomes invisible. Today it's invisible, right? When you use technology, then as the slope of enlightenment becomes easier and easier, we learn and we adapt. And the dot-com taught us that we have to adapt at multiple levels, right? Not just at one level. If you adapt only at your biology level, we don't succeed. Because software can go fast. Our biology cannot go so fast. Do we all need daily at least 6 to 8 hours? Some people need 4 also. But 6 to 8 hours sleep is required, right? AI never switches off. So the problem that happens is that our brains get overloaded. And this is what causes us anxiety. This is what causes us FOMO. This is what causes us dopamine addiction. Why is our attention so fragmented today? Because too many things requiring too much attention and we cannot give it that time is what damages our nervous system, because we are not equipped to handle it. Will we ever be equipped to handle it? Of course we will be, but it takes evolution a couple of generations, right? Evolution does not happen in a day or two, right? So that evolution is what decides how we will learn. And every time a new pattern comes up, we have to learn a new way to take care of our attention. So the biological solution is very simple. Biology needs time. Biology needs inner alignment. For me, the biological alignment came through something called looking at myself and looking at what I was grateful for. Because for me, gratitude led to happiness. In our generation, transformation was written through books. So I wrote a book about it called Vitamin G Gratitude. I can't give you a 3-hour podcast version, but I'll give you a chota wala, tiny Reels version. The Reels version is that we have to develop resilience. If we don't have resilience, like in Corona, what did you have to develop? Immunity, right? Same way, resilience is what can help us cope with these changes, right? But if we are only coping with these changes and the world does not adapt, we still lag behind, because that will call our nervous system to break down, right? Biology always collects its bill. Biology ka bill kabhi bhi dena padta hai, boss. So biology will decide for us what we will do. But what can we do to save that biology? For the dot-com generation, we were told, do yoga, do meditation, do mindfulness. These were the 3 things that were coming to the dot-comers, saying, if you do this, you will do. For you, what's there? For you, your attention is the most important currency that you can give. So discernment in terms of what you do. Like somebody else said, Vivek. The discernment to decide whether this requires my attention. Does this deserve my attention? Does this deserve my attention? Can I say no to it? Can I say no to this? Can I say I will not succumb to this pressure? If somebody else is posting a picture of something, I don't have to post something. If somebody is getting so many views, maybe I don't have to get them. Right? That's not going to define my success, my metrics. Right? That biological this thing we have to do. Then at an individual level also. At an individual level, if we don't love ourselves, we are constantly comparing. This is a world of comparison. Every time we compare with something else that's there, we say, okay, this person is doing this is doing this, I feel lost, I don't feel enough. Right? We don't feel enough. We feel there is some metric that we have to compete against. And that ends up defining our lives. When you have the discernment to say no, then you will not have this problem. And AI does this to us very, very badly. Why? Because if you look at it, till date we have always delegated or outsourced things, right? During farming we said, okay, you do this job, and then together we can make success out of this. Delegation has always been there. But what is AI delegating? AI is delegating and outsourcing our thinking. What are you without your brain? One great philosopher said, man is what he thinks, right? But what are we without our thinking? What is the meaning of who we are? Who are we without our thinking? Are we our body only? Are we our body only? Are we our work only? Are we our designation only? So AI is asking us a very important question, saying, who are you? Who are you without your thinking? When the platforms decide to take our attention, time and money, they hijack not just the dopamine and the brain, but they also hijack our curiosity, right? Your attention is the number one product that you have, and you are not what your output is, because your output is not your self-worth, right? We define by what I am. I'm productive, I'm a good human being. I'm not productive, I'm not a good human being. Not true at all, not true at all. Our self-worth is not the prerogative of the algorithm. The algorithm only shows you the reality that it wants. The landlords previously used to collect rent from us. Today, we have only 3 roles left. We used to be hunter-gatherer, farmers long ago. Today, we are consumer, influencer, creator. So, if our job is to work for the platform, and the platform decides what we are going to see, and we are going to decide our lives by that, then it's not going to work, right? So the first thing to get back is our meaning, our discernment, our identity of who we are as human beings. But that comes as a collective. Why as a collective? Because we are born out of systems, out of society, out of institutions, out of governance, etc. Right? So unless we are able to do that very properly, where as a collective, we know what we are doing, whether it be about morality, whether it be about ethics, we will not be able to survive these waves. These waves will come constantly, constant changes will be there. And if you are a drop in the ocean, in these waves, humanity has to drive this together. We cannot drive alone. There's no separation between you and me. What you do affects me, what I do affects you. Right? There is interdependence among us to begin with. Interdependence in today's world, you call it as collaboration, right? You say, okay, I'll collaborate with you. But what is collaboration at a global scale? Cooperation. Because whenever these technology triggers come, be it about nuclear wars, be it about anything, we have to cooperate together. So that cooperation is what will decide our common destiny as humanity, because we are in this together. Gaitonde, if you remember, Ganesh Gaitonde's example that I told you, Ganesh Gaitonde also realizes at the end that he is part of a whole collective. Our consciousness isn't about artificial intelligence. It's about collective intelligence. Artificial intelligence isn't going to win. Collective intelligence is going to win. Right? So as a collective, we have to take those decisions. When we cooperate together in our ancient wisdom, it says, Aham Brahmasmi, which means the same consciousness that runs through the universe, runs through you, and runs through me. Right? The drop in the ocean is also the ocean, right? There is no separation between the drop and the ocean. So Aham Brahmasmi says that there is no separation, and AI is telling us we have to recognize who we are, who humanity is. Ultimately, we will come to this question of who is humanity, and that is the question we have to answer. So AI is not asking us to be smart, it's asking us to remember who we are, and we are. You and me are same, there's no separation. That is what Aham Brahmasmi means. Thank you.